Hey folks, it's Babbage and Eater. We're in the long dark. I've been gone for a few days taking care of school stuff and other commitments, but we are back, at least for tonight. Going to be gone this coming weekend. I'm going to be gone Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We'll be all off. Because I'm visiting family, friends. I don't expect to have the ability to stream there. That's just the reality. I should probably spend time with them. Yeah, but lots of food. Where are we exactly? It's been a couple weeks. Okay, no, not a couple weeks. Couple streams. Couple days since we streamed. Okay, we're in Pleasant Valley. We are trying to remember where we're at. Let's see if we can figure out where we're at. Hilltop Cave. Okay, we were on our way potentially to Mystery Lake. But we also thought about going through Coastal Highway. Either way, we're going to have to get a lot lighter than we are. Let's see, how are we doing here? Okay, connection speed is good. What else is new here? Okay. Do we want anything from him? All we wanted was the guts, right? So I did start the process of working on the rewrite for the generator for this, the custom generator. A little trickier this time around, trying to figure out how to make that work, because what we don't want is a completely, truly random through the full spectrum. How can I put this? I want to know if the random custom run that we generate is of the level that we want. So for instance, if I generate something and I'm expecting to get a stalker level challenge, producing pilgrim level challenges is not satisfying. So how do we ensure that we get the right level of challenge, but we also have some randomization? So one of the things I did, let's see, I'll bring this up because I think it's kind of interesting. We'll bring this back up again. I have to pull up the file again, but generator. Okay, so we'll do this because people might be interested in what we're seeing. So I decided what would be interesting would be to actually, maybe we'll move this to this side there, probably easier. Okay, so we'll do this. We'll go over here. Does this work? Yeah, this works. Okay, so what I did is I went ahead and I went through the entire custom generator, as well as, well, not the custom, I went through the custom settings in TLD, looking at first the defaults for Pilgrim, Voyager, Stalker, Interloper, as well as what would be considered maximum difficulty for each of the settings. And the other thing I did was I assigned a numeric value to each of these, so that when you're looking at the looking at baseline resource, for instance, you know that it ranges from low to very high. what does that mean in terms of difficulty? So in Pilgrim, if you have baseline resource very high, that's like a very easy run. So difficulty increase is 0, right? But if it is high and not very high, then it's slightly more challenging. If it's medium, then it's a little bit more challenging. Low, we know, is much more challenging. Now, we could actually really fine-tune this by weighting them even more strongly than just simply incrementing them by 1, right? So like we could go an extra mile and say like there's a huge difference between low and medium, and that's probably true. But the first round pass, we're just really going to we're going to sort these in a particular way and use their index into the array as their weight, and from there's a little bit of maneuvering in order to make that work, but for the most part, it works. Some things don't have any impact at all, so we're not going to worry about speed, length of day, things like that. But other stuff does. One of the things that we learn here is we look at this and we can see that so at the top level here, if you look at just at the game start settings, Pilgrim is a total of 0 in terms of added difficulty. Voyager adds 3, mainly because the baseline resource is a little bit more limited, not much. And for random, I'm putting random right in the middle in terms of difficulty level because it ranges the whole spectrum, so you just don't know what you're going to get. It's definitely not the easiest. It's not clear or light snow, but it's going to be somewhere in the middle. This was an initial figuring of this. Later on, I just realized I could just use the index to the array and then place random in the middle of it. And so anyway, so we did that. And Blizzard being the hardest one, right? So anyways, we can then determine that there is a very tiny jump between Stalker and Interloper in terms of the way we start, other than the fact that low actually is a pretty big change, But I think the starting, when we go down here to starting gear allocation, it is like you're a 3 versus the 0 here. Anyways, you can start to see how it's balanced. So Stalker's almost twice as much, a little bit over twice as much as in terms of difficulty in most of these cases. Health being like a step up, but not like they seem to increment about 5 to 7 each time. So this is like a 7 increase, an 8 increase. This is only a 6 increase, and then the cap is at 39. So, interesting thing is in terms of wildlife difficulty settings, Stalker's technically more difficult than Interloper. But I would argue that's mainly just because of the boosted, wolf spawns, right? Timberwolf and wolf spawns that make it seem that way. The reality is if we ignore the Timberwolf and wolf spawns, then in every other way, wildlife spawns are much more challenging in Interloper. They tie for wildlife behavior. There's not really much more you could do. There's a tiny bit. You can bump it up to 15. So yeah, in terms of range then, you can see overall, and I adjusted here, predator difficulty is adjusted by whether or not it's passive wildlife or not. So passive wildlife suddenly eliminates wolf fear as being a factor. And I think I probably should actually, let's see, which ones are ignored. 68 to 70, so wildlife attacks during rest, wolf fear, Timberwolf morale. Probably should say predator grace period too is yeah, 62 E62 plus E62. There we go. And this is not really going to matter, right? Because these all have non-passive wildlife, all aggressive wildlife. But yeah, so the spreadsheet's actually useful for me to determine, figuring out how can I rebalance this so that I can then say, give me an interloper level difficulty game start. And it doesn't just default to this, but it looks for something in between interloper and max. And so we might then, it'll keep generating until it finds, a combination that is. So really it's just going to, come up with more difficult combinations for starting weather and starting time, right? So that's one way to do it, is like break it up into the separate components, have them randomize, and target a cumulative point difficulty somewhere in the right range. The other way to do it would be to just tally all the points, randomize the whole thing, and keep randomizing it until we produce something that's within the right range. And that may produce some weird difficulty settings where some things may actually seem easy, but yeah. So the other thing that I'm going to definitely do is, because passive wildlife only occurs in a pilgrim setting, I think it should by default, except if you choose to aim for a pilgrim-like setting, it should default to being passive off, and that would ensure that we get the right balancing. So I don't think anyone wants like an interloper setting with passive wildlife. At least I don't think anyone does, because we've done a number of those already and it's not that exciting. So anyways, that's what we've been doing here. My little side project to try to make a better random generator for next time. So, but that is the goal, is to spend my spare time over the weekend. And so I turned in my last project for my Python class on Thursday, was the plan. It turned in then. And then after that, I pretty much, it's just work until school starts up again in a few weeks. And I've been fortunate that I have a fair bit of, well, it's not going to last forever. We're going to shift into work mode, or not just work mode, we'll shift into a new project mode soon. But for the last little while, I've caught up on all my projects, and then basically it's back to me using my time to teach myself new things and working on Python projects and prototypes to deepen my knowledge of how it all works together. I didn't even check to see if my mic's working, but my mic is working, so that's good news. Yeah, how's everyone doing? I just want to check one other thing. The last few times we've had problems with YouTube connecting the stream. More than one. Ah. Okay. I think we're just gonna accept the fact that we've got to do some more work to get YouTube working properly again. Yeah. How annoying. Okay. So anyways, we may just end up having to, I don't know, what do we want to do? We've got a lot of food here. We should go somewhere.
I'm not going to be able to carry this load for much longer.
Okay, what do we want over here? Take one of those. We'll take liter of that. Actually, I really shouldn't have bothered with that, right? Because we're going to just dump all this stuff in there too. I wonder, I mean, let's hold on a second here. Put all this meat here. Should we go find the bear? Do we need a bear hide? We don't need a bear hide. What am I thinking? We don't need a bear hide. It was kind of wasteful. We shot a bear for no reason. Because it was there. Worst reason in the world. Okay, 42. Cleared those out. Okay, let's see what we can do. Oh, there's that deer. Could have been even more meat.
pack is getting too heavy to carry.
Okay, so the reality is we just can't take all this food, so...
Hope nobody needs this anymore.
I think maybe we finish out in Bleak. I think that's sufficiently far from Timberwolf Mountain. Try to make it to the cannery. Haven't done that for a while. Okay, change plans. We're going to cannery.
This'll come in handy.
Nope, totally not.
Barely walked with this much gear.
Hey, let's do as best we can. Oops. Okay. That's the bridge we will cross. Oops, that's not what we wanted to do. So I have some exciting news about wall decorations. I am buying a painting that will be suitable for our backdrop behind me. Right now we're kind of boring. My books are too low and not really visible. So I've been thinking about what could I add to the back wall that would look better. And then I saw this amazing thing, which I decided to go ahead and buy. It's not too expensive. But yeah, so I should have it Thursday. And Thursday, if I've turned in my homework, my last project by then, I might stream with that in the background. Yay. Okay. Debut it. There we go. That is such a Babbaginator move. In terms of wall decoration. Because it will feel very much on brand. How much fuel do we have? We have a lot of fuel. We could actually use lanterns instead. Yeah. And Wednesday, tonight I was supposed to pick up a coffee table, and I kind of chickened out because I looked at the measurements. I thought, I actually don't know if it's going to work. But the seller really wants me to give it a shot, so I will go on Wednesday. I'm not too busy. I'm going to see if we can figure out a way to fit the coffee table. I'm going to have to twist and turn it to make it work. The problem is, my car has a big trunk and a pretty large backseat area. And the seats fold down. But the opening for passing things between the trunk into the back seat is only about 12 or 13 inches tall, and the coffee table stands 19 inches. Now, most of that's just legs, obviously. So the question is, do we have a way to lift and pivot the coffee table in such a fashion that the legs go through the opening on an angle, pop out unimpeded, and are on the other side, and so the whole coffee table somehow miraculously fits into the space. And then I'd have to lift, twist, pull it out. So I think it's might be possible, but I'm also 25% convinced that it might not be possible at all. The basic logistics seem a little sketchy. I'm actually pretty 50-50 on this one. I think a 50-50 chance that it'll work. But for $30 for a really nice looking coffee table, I'd say it's worth a shot. Especially if the seller's willing to let me give it a try. Seems pretty insistent. She just wants it gone. When I messaged back and said, I'm not certain it's going to work. I did the measurements, and it seems like it is just not going to be. I'm short just a few inches and can't make it work. 5 inches or 7 inches is pretty big though. But yeah, that's really, I think if I come in, the trunk is large enough that I might be able to position it in such a way that I can bring it in, hook it underneath, then pass it through. And if I can do that, then we're good. And then just secure it in such a way that it's not shifting around the leg so it snap off before I get home. So, yeah. Oh yeah, we made it through the other side.
I'm not going to be able to carry this load for much longer.
You won't, but you won't have to. Okay, come on, Astrid. Let's get our deploy. Okay, send all this. Send all this except for a little bit of water. What else do we want to do? Send, well, send all this. There we go. And we're fine. We're not going to worry about it. Whew. Zippy now. Totally zippy. Pause down. Eat more cattails. Actually, I guess we don't have far started in 5 yet, so, or 3 yet, so we might as well take our tinder. Tinder was the night. Let's see what we got. Okay. Go up. Go up.
This pack is getting too heavy to carry.
Yep. Heavy, heavy, heavy. I guess we could live a long time in Bleak Inlet because we don't have to worry about wolves. Because everything's afraid of us. I'll remove them all. Woohoo! Off we go. Nothing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing up my reworking of the random challenge generator. Because I think we're on the right path. We should be able to produce something that consistently creates challenges of the right difficulty that we want. Or at least can evaluate challenges in terms of what their likely difficulty is. How far in can we take it? Well, that's pretty far. Okay, moving along, moving along. Do.
need to rest soon.
Okay. Three. Mm-hmm. Lost the whole day? Do we sleep during the daytime instead of sleeping at night? Oops. No. We almost made it through the night. We're okay. Ooh.
I wonder if I can drop any of this gear.
Wolf eating rabbit. And it ran away. Anything left?
I think I can use this.
Oh, he's still got a lot on him. Nope. Mr. Barky does not want to play. Broke the arrow.
I'm not sure I can carry much more. He's trapped. Gonna go for the last rabbit. Oh, there's a lot full tilt out there. Nope, he moved. There he goes. You need anything else? can barely walk with this much gear.
Too heavy. Okay, let's see what else we got. Hey, welcome in, Dragon. Dragon named Fox. Welcome in, Fox. Good to see you again. Hope your summer's going well. Whoa, 1.5 years. Big money. So what you been up to? Battle maps. Doing well. I spent today my group. So I took one class over the summer, which was a intro to Python class. Which really the only reason why I took it was because it helps build the paper trail that I've taken Python, even though I've been teaching myself Python this summer. So. Oh, you're helping a friend getting better from being sick and helping your friend out with a campaign. First campaign. Yeah, first campaign. Lots of levers and lots of things to figure out. Trying to figure out how not to burn yourself out is kind of the key thing. Because a lot of times people think, I got to do all this stuff, but you don't. You just have to start small and build out. Yeah, so Python class. We had a group project at the end, and my group decided to go really crazy and do something way over the top. We wrote a text adventure game in the style of Zork or Colossal Cave Adventure. So basically parser driven, you type in commands at the prompt and interact with things, fight monsters, loot treasure, that type of stuff. Which we basically wrote in 2.5 weeks, which is insane. Yeah, other people were doing much more like pragmatic things, and we wrote a full game engine in 2.5 weeks. You're building the party spaceship. So I was telling someone earlier today, I think the trick is that it reminded me how much I actually still enjoy programming. I just don't enjoy doing it. Doing like, I don't like it being my job unless it's helping other people, right? So I feel like the programming I do for my current job is mostly like data cleanup, or writing something that bridges to other things. But it's something that enables some researcher to move further along in their project, or troubleshoots a problem that's been there they didn't know how to fix. So I'm a resource in that respect. And I like that. But also, it means that I'm, at the end of the day, it's not my name that's on the grant. It's I do the best I can to help them out, and then at some point they may need to hire someone to develop, instead of a prototype, a full-blown thing, have like an actual developer on their team to do it. I can get them through the initial stage, and then they'll need to actually bring in someone whose main job is to do that thing. So working on like the game was just kind of fun. It was just like, oh, I wonder if we could do it this way, and we went ahead and did it. Yeah, and that's how I feel like it. It's like if it's and having finished, we're like about 95% done. There's like a handful of would-be nice things that we want to throw in right at the very end, and I have to document my code, and I'm like about 50-60% done documenting code, and really I'm just over documenting at this point. I'm just like making very clear, it's all like neatly labeled as to this function does this function does that, this weird thing we're doing in code is for this purpose. But I actually wrote a whole not only like a command line parser for the actual like terminal interface when you're like, you know, doing stuff with the player character, but I also wrote like a script interpreter for each of the items, monsters, and rooms, so that the external config files, which are text files, can contain little instructional scripts that are run when certain conditions are met. And so it's just like everything has its own like customization, and it is really set up to be used as an engine and not simply for one game only. I've externalized most of the actual text content. I have set things up to be highly customizable and extensible. And I would, if I were to take this to the next step, I'd probably rewrite the whole engine from the ground up with a better understanding of what Python is capable of doing in terms of interfacing with the web. Like, one of the things that I realized after the fact was I had not really written it to work conveniently as something that can be embedded in a web page. Nor is it really set up to be something that can be converted into an exe easily. Like the Python to exe, you know, conversion process, for me at least, has been a nightmare. I've not been able to get it to work. I think there's just too many moving parts in the current version. I would have had to start really simple at the very beginning with the idea that I was trying to write it so it could be compiled into an exe and make certain at every step that it was still able to do that. But at this point, right at the end, it's like there's too many things that could go wrong that I haven't been able to figure out why it's not compiling correctly. So, but yeah, so that's like the big project that's effectively wrapped up at this point. We've finished our documentation. We did the presentation today. Our project was voted. The class voted and decided that they would like our project to be used in the next time the class is taught. The professor invites back the team that was chosen to have the best project, and so they demo it for the new class. And I was like telling my friend Daniel, it's like, this is going to be terrible because people are going to see what we did and think that it's totally feasible to do that in 2.5 weeks. It's not feasible to do that in 2.5 weeks. Not in an intro to programming class. You currently have a 20,000 line particle. Oh no. You're trying to find a problem with. Yeah, we wrote about 2,000 lines plus 38 external text files, like config files, in about 2.5 weeks. And if I were to take this the next step, I would probably write a tool to make the creation of the text files a little bit easier. Well, it was an intro to programming class taught over the summer in a program like our iSchool, our information program for library science, does not actually offer us internally. It doesn't offer us any advanced Python for librarians, which is what I want. I want to have that class. And at this point, I probably also would find that class fairly simple because I've been doing that work over the summer. But even still, I feel like I would have a better time. I'd get more out of that. But this one, it was like the very last week was really when we started to talk about things that might be more interesting, like data visualization, which I haven't really done very much of. And so that I thought was going to be interesting, but there was really no time to really go deep into that one. And she teaches a class also on machine learning, and that one probably would have been a lot more interesting. But again, that's not necessarily coding for machine learning. It's like learning how to hook into the libraries and use them for particular tasks. So even that, I don't know if I'd get as much out of. But yeah, so I think we'll definitely like terrify the other group. Like it's so ridiculous. Like the project we decided on doing was a game, and I'm a former game dev, so I'm like, it's like, oh. Now I've never written an engine from scratch like this, so that was kind of fun to kind of work together on that. Yeah. Um, we did a little demo of it the other day, but I'll save that, I think, for I'll do some more tweaks over the week, and then maybe next week we'll do an extra stream. Yeah, you did an intro to nuclear fusion course just because. Uh, so the other project I'm working on right now just started. We had this conversation, I think, last week about um, how there's an inherent problem in the current random custom setting generator that I wrote for TLD. That what it ends up producing skews too easily, like skews towards the, how can I put this? Certain difficulty settings are naturally easier than others, and the majority of settings tend towards being moderate to easy to handle. So when it's completely randomized with relatively equal weighting, the end result is a very middle of the road challenge. It doesn't, I feel like what we're really getting is Voyager level challenges. And I'm not really feeling that. So back to the drawing board, rethinking what it is to produce like a challenge, a custom randomized challenge that is appropriate to the level that you're seeking. So what I want to do with the next version of it is basically you set what you're looking for, and then it produces a custom challenge within that range. Um, so so what would I have then? I'll show you what I've been working on then. And not the code yet. The code's not ready yet, but the spreadsheet. Yay, spreadsheets. So I went through like the entire all the settings. Well, I went back into the custom settings, and then I kind of documented what the settings are for each of the different so each of these different, the settings of the settings, right? So basically, and then I figured out how to calculate a relative weight for each of them. So like I assign like the easiest setting produces a difficulty of 0, and then it simply increments by 1 if it goes to the next difficulty level. And then there's a tally. Like I figured out how like game start, if I tally up the points for Pilgrim, it's 0. If I tally up the points for Voyager, it's 3. And Stalker 7, Interloper 8. And then if you crank it up to the actual max, then it's a 12. And so each of the separate sections is basically similarly calculated out. And that can also help us figure out roughly, like on the raw level, what are we looking at in terms of difficulty. So let's say Pilgrim overall, and making an adjustment for the fact that it is passive wildlife. So certain settings that have to do with wildlife attacks are not factored in. They're ignored in this case. So you end up with adjusted of 40 versus Voyager comes out to 104, Stalker comes out to 180, Interloper is 228, and the absolute cap would be 288. So like if I were to then create I would say I want an Interloper level difficulty, then basically I know that each of these sections would have to fall between these numbers. And so if I'm generating them, I would have to reject anything that doesn't result in a total that fits. So that's kind of the plan. And, so that way you could say, I'm looking for an interloper level difficulty. Then it's going to try to find, produce something in which the numbers fall between these points. And if you say, I want to have a Voyager level difficulty, then it has to fall between those points, right? It has to be around 3, it has to be between 3 and 7, or between 5 and 10 for each of these different things. Yeah. And so you could have, I think I think I made a choice in the first design not to mess with like the standard things like dysentery, sprains, food poisoning, broken ribs. Those are always going to happen. But yeah. So break it out point wise, and then now I can work backwards in figuring out what I want to do. Let's see. Yeah, so in terms of where the generator's at, I just started working on it today, the rewrite of it today. So I'm really just writing I think I added a new function that calculates the points per section. So, and unfortunately that's really tedious because I can't just simply index in and say the index is the difficulty level, because some are reversed. So like normally it goes from like low to very high, but in some cases a very high is actually the low difficulty. So so that's a little confusing. But we'll make this work. We'll make this work. So yeah, I figure I'll have maybe tomorrow and maybe part of Wednesday I'll work on it and see if I can get that all finished up and then I'm going to be gone Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday I'll be back. Yeah, I think the other way to do it is exactly that, which is to say like I think for certain sections there are so few combinations that would be valid, you would just simply choose between those settings. But then there are other sections where there's so many different possible settings that you would actually want to randomize it a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I'm also realizing like I wrote this in JavaScript. If I were to tackle it again in Python, I'd probably write it completely differently. So, oh, and then we have way too much stuff on us. That's what we left off at. Let's see here. Part of our solution is to eat things. Oh yeah, no worries, no worries. Fox, thanks for stopping in. It's good to see you again. Hope everything's going well. Need to get down to. I think we'll just drop 66. We're not going there, so we'll drop that one. And we'll drop these guys here. Okay, I think what we can do here is we don't need that. We just want. We got plenty of food even. We don't even need the food. We want the food so we can cook it. Okay, so you'll stay lurky. Okay. Turkey lurky. Okay, so this is now useless to us. Um, yeah. So the new custom settings generator will go up. I think after the weekend, maybe before the weekend if I can pull it off. But it's not going to be my best code. It'll just be functional code. But I think after I get back, so Tuesday when I get back, when I'm back online. Oh, actually, Tuesday night I won't be online. No, I might be online. We'll see. It depends partly on whether or not I'm running D&D that night. Okay. So, but yeah, I think we may abandon this particular run and start a brand new challenge with the new generator to see how well the new generator is doing. The other reason why I want to do that is because I've been having some weird issues with multi-streaming to both Twitch, simul-streaming to Twitch and to YouTube, where it used to work perfectly fine, and now suddenly YouTube is like throwing a fit. And so the last few streams I've done have either ended abruptly early, or like for YouTube, so it's not being archived at all, or it's being archived for like 15 minutes and then it like cuts off the stream. So I'll have to diagnose what exactly is going on. There's something, I think YouTube must have changed something, and now things are all broken. So I'm like, so I have to figure out how to get that working. Because I would like to auto archive and not have to like go download and re-upload every single time. I thought at the time, the problem was that since moving to this new place, I feel like the internet provider, so I have like a high-speed internet connection, but it's through my landlord. It's really like a great connection, but I have a suspicion that there's some throttling going on because there have been some weird speed issues. And so, like, I have a VPN as well, so I just, have now been running through the VPN instead. And speeds are much better. So I feel like there's definitely the provider is doing some throttling, which is really annoying. Oh. Ooh. We're cold and wet. I think what else is new? Oh, today I turned in my key for my on-campus apartment. Now that I've officially cleaned everything up and moved everything out. It's done. Done with my on-campus living. Now it's dedicated to off-campus life. So, I do need to send a message and let the person I was subletting from know that I have moved out. Although the contract, my contract runs until the end of the month. There's no point in me being there since I have this unit already. So I got about half an hour left before we wrap up. At the rate we're moving, it'll take us half an hour to get inside. No, it won't be that bad. Oh, this guy never made it inside. Happy day. Twisted our ankle like that. Just like that. Boom.
That'll be useful.
We don't need more bandages. We've got like 5 of them. $79 versus my, what do I have right now? 82. Keep that. Hey, Aaron, welcome in. So we had Fox was in here earlier, dragon named Fox, currently lurking. I was telling Fox about my plans for the complete rewrite of the, well, not complete, but a significant rewrite of the custom settings generator to reflect some of the feedback that we were given recently. Just a little bit heavy, yeah. We're okay. We're just a little bit heavy. But yeah, so I've been thinking about how to rewrite the custom settings generator so that it produces difficulty or challenges that are of an appropriate difficulty. So if you say, I want an interloper-like challenge, that it will be able to figure out a challenge that meets that requirement. And in order to do that, I had to go through once again and look at all the settings. Yeah, so I'll show you what whoever's watching. Well, actually, YouTube's throwing a fit, so I don't think anything's being archived right now. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, so what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I was going to say I do have this. So I made this big spreadsheet so I could see what all the settings were for all the different, all the settings for all the different settings, right? So, and they're broken up into their sections like game start, environment, health, gear, wildlife behavior, wildlife struggle, right? And what I decided to do was I decided that I should look at the range of values that might be present here and assign them difficulties. So for instance, if baseline resource is set at very high, that means that it's producing an overall difficulty increase of 0. That's the easiest you can get. Whereas if you lower it to high, then it increases difficulty by 1. If it's set at medium, then it increases by 2. If you set it at low, then it's at 3. And then time of day, I figure noon's the best time of day to start, so that's a 0. Dawn is the next best because at least you have like the rest of the day will warm up, hopefully. So that's a 1. Dusk ends up being a 2. Random is right in the middle, or actually maybe it goes noon, dawn, random, dusk, and then midnight. I can't remember where I put it. But random's in the middle because it could go either way. Dusk is right before nightfall, and then midnight, right? So, and so that will then have their relative difficulties as well, or their impact on the difficulty setting. Then I can tally them up. So I can say like, okay, so overall, Pilgrim, with these settings, it's basically a 0 increase to difficulty. At Voyager, there's some slight modifications that make it difficulty 3. And for Stalker, like the game start is a 7. It's double the difficulty because a number of things get ramped up. And then for Interloper, it ends up being an 8. And then I also track sort of what's the maximum. If we maxed everything out, what would be the top difficulty? And I do that for each of the sections, and then I tally them all up at the end and figure out like what's the adjusted. Pilgrim is 40 points of difficulty, and Voyager is 104, Stalker 180, Interloper 228, and the max you could do is a 288. And so what that allows me to do from now on then is I can calculate, if I randomly generate difficulty settings, I can calculate it and say like, where does that fall in this range? And at a top level, I could say, this produces a challenge that is clearly in the Voyager range, right? Between 104 and 180. Or I could do other things, like I can say, I'm going to, I want each of the parts to be of the appropriate difficulty. So I could say, I'm producing a Stalker level difficulty, means that this random generation must produce a result between 7 and 8 for game start, or this health difficulty setting must be within 25 to 31, right? And if it isn't, it just regenerates those until it does that. Or I could have, like, if it's set at stalker, then it limits sort of that range of generation. So it doesn't waste time generating things that are too low. I just think it might be interesting to have like a wider swing so that some things could give us a break. Like thirst rate might actually be really low, but other stuff is really high. So anyways, still tinkering with how that's going to play out, but I've been writing the second version of the generator with the ability for each of the sections to calculate themselves and then do a tally at the end. And then, force a reset on any parts that don't fit. So that's kind of the plan. So more work, but I think it'll be good. I think it'll produce a better challenge in the end. Okay, speaking of better challenges, we're going to walk on the edge here. Yeah, we killed like a deer, a wolf, and a bear all back in Pleasant Valley, and we just left them because couldn't take all that meat with us. What do we want to eat here? Not raw meat. Let's not do that. Let's get this out of the way. So I'm buying a painting this week off of Facebook Marketplace that is going to totally fit the vibe of this stream. I think it's going to be a cool addition. So it'll be something to go in the background. Of course, this might mean that I have to figure out how to rearrange things slightly so it's visible. Yeah, one of the challenges I faced in this new place is the bedroom layout is just such that I couldn't figure out a way to lay out this room without having the bed at least partially in the shot. Like, it's kind of frustrating, but just the nature of these rooms. Oh yeah, let's go find this deer. Yep, there he is. Okay. What? There's only a tiny bit left. Alright. Oh, 22 minutes left.
I'm getting tired.
What are we going to do? Super heavy.
Come on, little fire. Perfect.
Okay. Got all our stuff. Super! Welcome in, Super. You shout out.
Oh dear.
Was that a terrible deer joke? Okay. Hey, so what's up? We are in the middle of our challenge. You Know Nothing, Astrid. Top of the World edition, which is basically we start at Timberwolf Mountain on a completely customized random, well, let's see, a completely randomized custom run in which we got the code, but we didn't look at the settings and we just played it. So we were just figuring stuff out as we go, in terms of what our settings are. One thing we do know is we've got way too much stuff right now. Actually, we know a fair bit already. We know that we are starting gear was at least medium, baseline resources medium to high. No birch bark tea again. Wildlife is passive, which is not very fun. Wolves are medium. We do get a revolver this time, and wildlife detection is close, which is also kind of silly because we can walk right up to things and then they don't notice until too late. But I was saying earlier that I'm actually going to spend part of this week rewriting my custom settings generator to produce challenges that are, well, how can I put this? Produce settings that are appropriate to the difficulty that people are looking for. So that is to say, if someone says, I want a custom interloper challenge, that it will produce something that falls within the right range of difficulty settings, instead of having like some truly random things. Well, and the other problem is like when you have a range of values, a range of levels for the different difficulty settings, but like interloper generally is using the extreme furthest version, the hardest level, and the rest of them are not even being considered, then randomizing across the entire range makes no sense, because it's going to tend towards producing Voyager-like challenges across the board. So we have to be smarter about how we produce our challenge codes. So
I'm not gonna be able to carry this.
It's like the third time tonight I've done it, but I'll show you what I've been working on in terms of the sort of the initial planning stages right now of what I'm doing. So what I did is I went through the entire like custom setting and normal settings to figure out what the default settings were at each level. So Pilgrim, for instance, for the game start, the baseline resource is very high. Start at noon, weather's clear, indoor spawns are true, and Survivor monologue has no relevance in terms of figuring out difficulty setting. But like at Interloper, it's like low baseline resource, random starting time, random weather, no indoor spawns. So looking at the range of possibilities for each of these, I just gave them weights so that Pilgrim generally is choosing the lowest difficulty, the one that makes zero impact on the difficulty, or minimal impact on the difficulty. So if you choose, for instance, very high, this makes zero impact on the difficulty. Noon is the easiest time to start, so that's 0. Clear weather is the best weather, 0. Indoor spawns are preferable, 0, right? Because you have warmth already. Whereas like Interloper, these are choosing, on the opposite end, this is when difficulty is the highest, so this is set at low. Random, I kind of place in the middle of these lists, so like if you could show up randomly at some random point in the day, noon is the best time, dawn is the second best time. I would put random in the middle, then dusk and midnight, because dusk and midnight means that you're going to end up in darkness soon. Anyways, each of the sections can calculate its difficulty in terms of its weighted difficulty, and then it can also tally it all up. So you know what the total for a Pilgrim run adjusted is 40 points of difficulty. Voyager is 104, Stalker 180, Interloper 228. And then if you were to max out all the settings, just the worst, hardest settings for everything, you would max out at 288 points of difficulty. So, Oh, you know what? That's a good case. I have clear as the easiest because you got visibility. Light fog, I think I can't remember if I put light fog or light snow next. I think originally I was going to weigh them the same, but then I decided I would just use the index in the array as the weight and do it that way. So then the order does matter. But yeah, so anyways, the goal is this week to finish the rewrite of the generator so that it produces, if you tell it you want a stalker level challenge, it knows that, like for instance, in the gear section, that it needs to produce the total calculated difficulty must fall between 11 and 19. And so if it doesn't fall in the right range, it will regenerate it and choose something different. Now we can like give it, you know, some additional help and say like for a stalker run, you can't go below a certain point because then it's not really a challenge. So we might change the starting points on these, but in general, yeah, it should be easier to produce what we're looking for. It just takes a little bit of rewriting and rethinking of a few things. So anyways, I like making interesting tools for people, and so that's what we're doing. Okay, we're super heavy. It's nighttime already. I would argue that what we probably should do is just sleep here, glance through a couple of these things, and then sleep here. I don't think we got this key at all. Too soon.
So tired.
Yeah, good to see you, Laszlo. So anyways, like after I do the rewrite on the generator, I think it'll be ready after the weekend. I will upload it. We will probably start a brand new challenge run based on that instead. So we can look for something that's interloper or harder. And we'll go from there. Yep. Those newspapers, not useful. Super. Yeah, that's my problem is like I'm not getting enough hard challenges. Like this one is too easy for me. You know, the hardest part is the first like 5 to 10 minutes to figure out whether or not I'm going to have passive or aggressive wildlife, you know. So I think like one thing we can say is like only on pilgrim like challenges should wildlife ever be passive. I can't see like an interesting, well, I'm not certain if there would be a fun challenge if wildlife was passive at an interloper level. I just find
Just
it's
be prepared for anything.
annoying, but not helpful. So yeah, so the goal is to produce a challenge, random challenges that are, one, they can tell you what they rank at. So like if you were to do a regular, just randomize the whole thing, that it would actually give you a weight in terms of how how difficult the random setting was. It could calculate it for you and tell you this is a pilgrim challenge, or this is a stalker level challenge. But then also have the ability to set, I want only interloper level challenges, and then have it produce, you know, an interloper challenge. So Cowichin. Okay, we don't need this guy.
Okay.
Let's cut him close.
Hope nobody needs this anymore.
Okay. Okay, let's do it this way. Let us drop everything that needs to be cured. No, we almost fried ourselves. Okay. Alright, no more zappy zappy. Okay, we had ate through our food supply, or our meat supply at least. Now we're working our way. Through our other weight. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see what we got. Definitely getting sleepy, so we'll get ready to wrap up here soon. So we'll cut through the other side. When we go through the load screen, we'll probably wrap up at that point. How are we doing time-wise? We are on day 22, so I think I'm at 3 hours of sleep, 2 hours of sleep. Not 2 hours of sleep, 2 hours of... I need sleep. I spent the last few days working on our Python group project, text adventure game, which is almost done. I mean, it is done. We're just doing some extras. Add a couple more commands and a few more Easter eggs here and there. Another knife.
This will come in handy. Okay.
Sleepy, sleepy. Just came from there.
I'll take it.
Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Being useful.
Okay. Yay, made it out of Lower Dam. Let's see what we got here. Oh, no, broken arrow. Okay, so where are we at? 22.
This pack is getting too heavy to carry.
I think we're just going to end here for tonight. So we're going to go and before we go, we'll read a poem. Okay, so yeah, let's read a poem before we go. Let's see here. What do we want to read? Poem chooser. Operator. I feel like we did that not too long ago. Try something else. Float. Yeah, we could read float. It's nice and short. And I'm tired. Okay, so we'll do float. This is a poem from my second book of poetry, Babbage's Dream, published in Sundress Publications, 2017. This poem is entitled Float, taking its inspiration from the float variable type, a fundamental type used to define numbers with fractional parts. Like a bell, or rather the sound of it opening, a silence that having told speaks again, suspended between states of incompleteness, a point traversing a numbered landscape. This country of small infinities is what we do with what remains, bits of window panes, refracted light, what gathers in the torn pages from the dimming edge of the red field, or torn leaves from the dimming edge of the red fields grown dark. Say what you will, the body is no more than the moon, a white trouser button in a pool of gasoline, a halo of ash and flame ascending the ladder of night. So, I think I've talked about this before, but the float just really plays with all these fractional infinities when you obviously you can't store infinity, but you can store some pretty large numbers in the float type, and they're not whole, they're all fractional. And so I was kind of playing around with that idea of like really big but fractional infinities, and what does that look like? You know, whether it's the way light refracts and turns into all these other things, whether it is like the sense of vastness when you stand on the edge of a field, either at dawn or at dusk, and things stretch out forever. Or this nod towards the Kandinsky. Vasily Kandinsky was a famous 20th century artist, and he once wrote something to the effect that even the white trouser button glittering out of the pool in the street has a secret soul, which is basically to say that there's nothing in the world that does not have some aura of mystery, some sense of story behind it. If we just depict it in that way, if we give it the right frame, we can see sort of that reality of mystery, reality of all that complexity present with a little bit of hint of context. And then how everything turns into this fire that ascends into the night. Anyways, let's float. If you want to hear more, you can always check out my website for more information about my poetry. You can visit this link to see more specifically about the book. But in terms of who I am and what I do, this is my bio. I'm a writer, the author of 2 books of poetry. I'm also a former computer games programmer and a creative writing coach, manuscript editor, opera librettist. I've been playing TLD since pre-launch in 2017. Yeah, I'm all around geeky person that plays D&D. So feel free to drop in, hang out. We're usually on in the evenings. Twice a week I'm running D&D games normally, and occasionally I have schoolwork issues that creep in and I have to spend some time in the evening working, or I'm committed to attend like another meeting on some sort of planning project. So, but usually I'm free. So we're going to head back, figure out who we can go raid. So who do we got here? Kanat. Okay, let's let's visit Canotastic, I think. Okay, so we're gonna pop over to see, I'm tired. Sentences, hard. I'm gonna raid Canotastic. So take the party over there. I'm going to probably crash really soon because I'm tired. But we'll see you all again. Don't know if I'm on tomorrow night. Should be on Wednesday night. Yeah, good to see you, Prof. Yeah. I think sometime next week I'm trying to showcase my text adventure that I wrote in Python for a class. We had to write a simple final project for the summer, and I ended up writing a whole text adventure game and built the game engine. So may have gone a little bit overboard. But yeah, it's good. It is what we do, right? So anyways, yeah, let's get this going. Thank you all, and we'll see you soon.